listening to Voices of IFES, where we speak with people from around the IFES Fellowship about all things student ministry.
At this point, it's our privilege to have the General Secretary of IFES, Mr. Tim Adams, encourage us as a global fellowship, looking at new beginnings and what he sees for IFES as General Secretary. Mr. Adams, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kehinde. It's wonderful to be here. I'm speaking from a cold and slightly grey, raining Oxford, which is where IFES has the UK office. But my heart is warm when I see all of you from different parts of the world joining in with this time of prayer. And thank you also, Michelle, for that really helpful and inspirational word to us from Isaiah. That was wonderful. And yeah, just to see you all, it reminds me that our ministry in IFES, it's not just about the people that we interact with day to day, but we have this great privilege of being part of what God is doing among students all around the world. Well, so how has 2025 been for you so far? That's my question to you. If your new beginning this year is a bit like mine, then it's mixed. And this is life. There are some things which are stressful and difficult, and there are also things that we can give thanks for. And just because we're Christians or because we're serving God in our ministry, it doesn't mean we can avoid the difficult things. And when I come to pray, I find that these difficult things are the things that first come to mind, the things that I feel I need help in. That's what comes to mind when I start to pray. But I think it's also important that our prayers are a place where we express our thankfulness. And this is something I just wanted to bring to you in my exhortation today. Again and again in the New Testament, there is an emphasis on prayer. And when Paul exhorts people to pray, he combines this with also encouraging them to give thanks, encouraging us to give thanks. He does this in Thessalonians, he does this in Philippians, and there's a short verse in Colossians, which I'd like to encourage you with today. From Colossians 4, verse 2, Paul says, "Devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful." And I want to encourage you with that image, an image of people devoted to prayer, but also watchful and thankful. So first, our devotion, it's really important. As Michelle said, and as Kehinde said in the introduction, I think prayer is a way of expressing our submission to God's will, our dependence on Him. It's a way of expressing and demonstrating our faith and our expectant hearts and our need for Him. But it's also indicating our solidarity with His kingdom purposes and our willingness to be part of those. So let our fellowship in IFES continue to be full of people devoted to prayer. I'm very thankful that we begin in January 2025 with a dedication of this year to the Lord in prayer. And then we're asked to be watchful. So it's like we're invited not to pray with our eyes closed, but are encouraged to pray with our eyes open, with an alertness to what is going on around us. How is God at work? How are God's kingdom purposes being advanced? Where are they being limited and by who? And what is God calling us to do? We're called to pray with open eyes, with watchfulness. And then we're encouraged to be intentionally thankful. To encourage you with some things that I'm thankful for this week. On Monday, I had the privilege of spending some time with Frano, who is the General Secretary of the GBU in Chile. And he shared with me about a new student group that started on an island there, and also about some young staff that the movement has appointed, and they're about to begin their period of induction and training. And this was a great encouragement to me because I'd been praying for this since I visited the movement just over a year ago. What a privilege it is And what an honor it is that God has called us to serve him and to be a part of his global agenda. And let's do that with thankfulness. He is doing amazing things through our movement around the world. So let's, as IFES, begin this year by following the encouragement of this verse, Colossians 4:2. Devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful. And as you pray for student ministry, let me ask for your prayers in 3 broad areas. So first, let's pray for the many campuses and countries around the world where there is no student witness. If you look at the statistics about higher education, you'll find that the global student population is growing really rapidly. Every year, there are millions more students in the world, and these are the people God has called us to reach with the good news. And we do this through university student groups. So let's pray that our movements that we're able to start more groups, like the one that I heard about that's recently started in Chile. So let's pray for cities and countries where there is no student witness. Secondly, please don't stop praying for those who are in periods of suffering, war, and persecution. So let's keep praying for them, but also for many in other countries around the world where they're experiencing times of persecution and suffering. They need our prayers, and it's our prayers that will help them to maintain the faith in those desert years. And thirdly, and I think perhaps most importantly, God calls each of us to be praying for students in our place. Where you live, it's not random. I believe that God has put us in a geographic location because he has a role for us where we are. And we need to pray for the students in our families, in our communities, in our cities, in our countries. The student years, as you all know, they are critical years that will shape the rest of these young people's lives. And they need to know Jesus. So never stop praying for your country, for your family, for your city, and for the students that you know, that they would have the opportunity to hear the gospel and that they would be encouraged and equipped to follow Jesus throughout their lives. So, brothers and sisters, thank you for being here today. It really encourages me to think that we start the year together in prayer. And as we move forward into the rest of 2025, let's continue devoting ourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Voices of IFES. Follow us on your favourite podcast platform to hear more interviews like this one today. If you want to hear stories of how students are transforming their campuses around the world, subscribe to Prayerline, our weekly newsletter with inspiring stories to help you pray for student movements. You can go to ifesworld.org to subscribe or follow us on Instagram and Facebook to listen to stories in audio form.